give you guys a couple more minutes here.
I'm not quite sure when we're going, but on Friday, that's what when we went here, they said afternoons, I don't know if I can do status or.
Okay.
Or I guess just.
Yeah. Just email me Fridays. We'll be working on chapter 3 stuff in statics. Chapter 3 is going to go fast.
Are we going to be reviewing the exam tomorrow?
Yeah, I've already got it graded. It was definitely bimodal. Let's just put it that way. No, actually, it could be trimodal.
What is a trimodal?
There were 3 groups, 3 grade groups.
A group who did really well, a group who did bad.
I don't think right.
It was a group who did really well, a group who did, and a group who did,
Did you get one of these yet for this class?
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. We actually love
I just had it.
All right. Okay. So it's been interesting. I've been seeing the writing flex back up there, and then I've been seeing the getting lost in the TED Talks. Kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if you guys went out on the time management one. There's the philosophy out there that says that time management, so I'm going to stop this one and we'll come back. There's a philosophy out there that says that you should plan your time so that you make the most efficient use of the time, which is actually a cultural thing. Since you guys read about time management and that part of it, it's actually very much a cultural thing, and Americans and what they call the Western world, but it's not. It's if you're more a city dweller, because I call it big city-itis, that our use of time and equating time with money changes our whole philosophy about how we do things, and actually it can even change our philosophy about how we enjoy things. So looking at that time and time management as having something you've always got to be doing something. It always has to have a priority, and you have to value your time versus other activities. So those are some interesting thoughts. And so when I went and kind of skimmed, I haven't gone through, I'm getting caught up, but I haven't gone completely through. But I already had saw on the time management page, you've got the people who gave you the things like the Covey system, how to do your priority of your time. Pick 3 things to do during your day because that's what you can accomplish, your to-do lists, all of those part of it. And then there were those smattering of procrastination is healthy, how to use procrastination to your benefit, and that piece. So I just finished In Praise of Wasting Time. It's a book by a physicist. It's actually a TED book. It was a short read. It was really a quick read. And he goes into the philosophy of how we deal with time and the whole idea of time is money. And then when you go somewhere, go to a third world country or go to do some other things, that all of a sudden the clock doesn't drive you. That's not what drives you throughout the day. Those of you who are farmers know that that's not what drives your day. The sun comes up, the animal routines will drive your day, and your day is driven much more naturally than what you would normally expect and what we have with this arbitrary clock that's out there. And interestingly enough, I experience it on a couple of different things. If you've ever been on a cruise and you go out and you get on a cruise, all of a sudden your use of time on a cruise becomes very, very different. I end up on a train, and I tell people if I can travel by train, I'm so for it. Because once I get on a train, my perception of time actually just disappears because you are at the whim of when the train gets there, and you can't control that. But that's not the same as traveling on an airplane, because you are so time driven on an airplane. You've got to get to the next gate. You've got to do, but when you're traveling on a train, it's not. So we have this weird perception of time. So the procrastination thing, interestingly enough, they did a study. They did a study where they split up the groups into three groups. One group was given a task at the beginning of class and told they had to complete that task by the end of class. The second group was given the same task, told about the task, but they weren't allowed to start the task for 10 minutes. They weren't allowed to start the task for 10 minutes. They were told to play a word game or told to, do a puzzle or something for 10 minutes, and they couldn't even really work on the problem that they were given to work on for the rest of the class, but they were told they couldn't start. The third group was told they were to do the puzzle or whatever for 10 minutes, and then they were given the problem to work on. The most creative, best solution to the problem was given to the class that had the puzzle time for 10 minutes before they were allowed to start the problem. And part of it is how our brains work. Our brains never ever shut down. Parts of our brain will shut down, but the idea was that you were in your subconscious, you were working on the problem while you were doing the puzzle, but you were allowing the rest of the brain to kind of rest before you jumped into the project. So there is a philosophy out there that says productive procrastination works. And we recommend, and we've told some study habits, if you get stuck on a problem, and I've actually talked to you guys about this for engineering physics, if you get stuck on a problem and you've been working on it for over an hour, get up, walk away, and do something else. Get up, walk away, do something else. Go for a walk. Go start dinner. Go do something else. Go read something else. Play a quick video game, but don't get lost in it. Then come back and work the problem, and all of a sudden you may see the solution. And they actually talk about how many discoveries have occurred because the person has been working with a problem and they get stuck. And they let that problem sit for a while, go to bed, go to sleep, and the solution actually will show itself. That's why I also tell you, do your homework 48 hours in advance, because it gives your brain a chance to have some dwell time. And that really, really works. So that's one of the things that you got to kind of think about. So if you haven't looked at those productive procrastination ones, it's not a license to totally procrastinate, but it is one that helps you really. And if you have a tendency to get lost in certain things, there are lots of clock timers that you can put on your phone, and you can get yourself out of it. So kind of wanted to focus that on that. So other little things, and Blackboard's been doing weird things. I don't know if you guys have been noticing this.
No, I did that.
I mean, it was driving me crazy yesterday.
If you press
It's
the
doing that to me
stop,
this morning
it'll
as well.
Well, like if I can go to my courses and then it stops. So it's really weird. I'm gonna go talk to Bobby about that before I go to when we go break trusses. Okay, so we don't run into the problem. This week, we are in week 4, guys, and I am corresponding with Enel. Enel is the one that's offered us to have a wind turbine tour. We are going to probably go to Thunder Ranch, which is this turbine field out here. We're just working on setting the date, and that date will be in the first couple of weeks of March. But he got back to me right away, said, yep, we can have our tour, so that one's going to be out there pretty quick. So this week's expectations, and I'm going to hear cheers. I know I'm going to hear cheers. There's no memo this week.
We love you.
We're going to talk about writing here, but there's no memo this week. And we'll talk about that here in just a second, too. I want to get my Zoom up here so we can actually see it. Okay. This chapter 3, is on design. So you guys have a design problem this week. Okay? And I'm sure you guys, so we're gonna have some really creative stuff for you guys over in Enid next week, because I'm not quite sure exactly how to do this. And you guys are in 404, right? Up in Zoller 404? Okay, I'm going to have to go up there on Friday and figure out how we're going to do this. Okay, and for you guys in 404, because it's a fairly small room, isn't it? It's not as big as the room that we're down in on the first floor. All right. So the thing is that you've got to make 3 posts because in this chapter they talk about teamwork, we talk about engineering standards, and we talk about engineering design. So you're going to have a design project for next week. I have started a discussion board on teamwork. So the idea is as you read the chapter, I want some posts to be on the teamwork discussion board. You need to make 3 contributions to the wiki page on engineering standards. And I started you out with NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And so I've actually started that wiki page, and there's lots of different engineering standards. So I want you to kind of look at those, and so you need to make some contributions to the wiki page. There's no memo this week, but we're going to do an engineering design project. So you're going to come to class next week with 2 paper airplanes. Yes, I said that. 2 paper airplanes. The first paper airplane has to be made in what they call the DART design. This is a NASA standard paper airplane. And I've given you the PDF for it. You get one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Okay, one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And that is your reference standard. Okay, that is your standard design. Your second paper airplane is a design of your choice that improves upon the DART design. Okay? It's got to be something that's based off that DART design, but you've made a change to the DART design in order to do one of 3 things. And you get a choice. And this is where the guys over in Enid, you're going to have a little bit more of a challenge. My suggestion for you guys over there, since I know that's a small room, is to pick the loop. Because the DART design is actually designed for a long glide. It's not designed to do a loop. Okay? It's not designed to do a loop. So you can either have it do a loop, have it go farther than your DART design, or stay aloft longer. All right? So you can pick one of the 3, and you get to announce which one of the 3 it is that you do. And then we're going to fly paper airplanes next week.
In the classroom, or are we going to do it outside?
Well, we kind of have to do it in the classroom so we can include our Enid
Oh,
folks.
yeah, that's right.
So in this room, in here, for length, we're going to probably have to fly diagonal. Start where John is and fly this way. That room over there, that's why I said I need to go up and check in that room. So it'll be a challenge to figure out how we're going to fly paper airplanes. But we're going to fly a lot of paper airplanes. So it's an engineering design project. And so now we've had entertainment, and this will be, so if people are going, you're making paper airplanes, and you get to say, yes, I'm doing it for homework. Okay, I'm doing it for homework. Down in the Union, yeah, flying paper airplanes to the Union, I'm doing it for homework.
I bought my grandson how to make paper airplanes, but
So I will tell you, there is a really, really cool modern marvels out there associated with paper airplanes. I know because my grandson watched it and was able to help his brother modify a paper airplane because his brother had made a paper airplane that did a loop-de-loop. And his brother wanted one to fly straight. So it can be done. So that you do have your initial plan for that. So that's next week based off of chapter 3. So I have put down here, why should engineers write? Okay? Why should engineers write? So there is method to my madness. When I was doing as a consulting engineer, I was probably writing on the order of, my thickest engineering report was 12 inches thick. Okay? 12 inches thick. So you're writing a number of words in a variety of different things over and over again. So We actually had, at the consulting firm that I worked at, we had what we called a manual of styles. And that meant that, and there's a reason why I've given you a template. So several of you have lost points on your memo, not because of the content of the memo, strictly because you didn't follow the format that I've requested. It has to be in a specific format. I will kid you not. EPA, if you turn in sheets for specific reports, if it's only one page even, if you don't have one of one on the top of the page for the EPA report, it is a fine. So there is a reason why people put out style templates, because they want that specific to the template. For some people, it's the fact that now it's going to a character reader. For some people, it's just the branding of the institution in which you're at. All right? There may be color requirements. There may be font requirements. Coca-Cola has a trademark font. IBM has a trademarked font. So those fonts that the company uses actually symbols their company. So if you're told at your company, or if you're told that you need to be in this format, you need to be in that format. And so there are several of you that have lost points on your memo just because you didn't follow the format. So over here, the other place that people are going to start losing points, because now I've read 2 memos and I've actually caught up, you're going to start losing points for grammar. You're going to start losing points for punctuation. So under class resources, over here, here are my 2 templates that I'm expecting you to utilize for the memos. They're both, one's in Google Doc form and one's in a Word document form. Then I've got the Purdue Online Writing Lab, and I'm going to go ahead and click it so you guys can actually see it. In the Purdue Online Writing Lab, they have researching and citations. They give you the different styles. So as you go further in your careers, somebody is going to say, I want it in APA style, or I want it in MLA style. And those are the specific styles that are used to do your references, your specific headers and your sections, your specific different pieces. I have the MLA book in my office if anybody ever wants to come see it. A lot of different places and a lot of different courses. If you're in your upper division humanities courses, I will tell you, if you're in a psych course at OSU, if you're in a psych course in other places, they're going to tell you that your term paper's got to be an APA style. Just out and out's got to be an APA style. And so and that's because their journals, their articles, their everything in that particular discipline writes in APA style. There's another one that's called the Chicago style. And so those of us who write had a really good meme that went across that there was the Onion actually put that there was a gangland violence associated with APA versus Chicago style. It was a riot. Those of us who write a lot and understand the styles. So there's your Chicago style. And then a lot of engineering will be an IEEE style. So those are your citations. But if you're in here, the other is general writing resources. Here's your grammar, punctuation, because what I am seeing are standard violation of the rules, okay? I am seeing violation of the capitalization rules. Capitalization is for acronyms. Capitalization is for proper nouns, all right? So now you can use, if you've done a phrase that you wanted capitalized, you may put it in quotation marks, because I've seen a lot of improper capitalization. So that's one thing. I've seen lots of sentences ending in a preposition. That's a big no-no. You don't end a sentence in a preposition. I've seen lots of punctuation errors. Now, I will never count off for the Oxford comma, because I and a number of people fight associated with the Oxford comma. The Oxford comma is a comma that if I have a series that says blue, comma, green, comma, red, comma, and white, the comma before the and is considered an Oxford comma. And there are rules about when you use the Oxford comma and when you don't. There are a lot of us that use the Oxford comma for a variety of specific reasons. It's a more formal form of writing. So I will not ever count off for the Oxford comma because it's a matter of choice, not a matter of proper punctuation. So you've got some grammar resources there. You also have some resources at your fingertips. Now this is not in, let's hope it's coming up good. This is not in Google Docs, but this is in Word. And all of you have access to computers on campus. For most of you, the easiest access is the computers in the physics lab, but most of you have access to computers on campus. You have, so if I take a paragraph, all right. In your review, there is a grammar and spell checker. So it's not the best, okay, because this is a crappy sentence. It's not the best, but it will give you definite suggestions, okay? It will give you definite suggestions. It will help you with punctuation. It certainly will give you spell checking, because I have seen some misspellings out there. It will not, however, give you it won't give you, if it's affect versus effect, common misused words. Not Word, Microsoft Word. It won't necessarily give you that. If you're looking for formatting, I encourage you to look for formatting, because all your formatting is right here. Don't put everything in central formatting. This will tell you if you can left justify, right justify. This will actually give you even justification. So depending on what you're after, that's where you can actually use it. In references, here's how you can actually insert your citations. And you can pick your style. Is it APA? Is it Chicago? Is it MLA? If you can actually utilize it, so it will footnote and give you references. And IEEE is in there. So those are kind of your standard ones. So you can actually use your word processing tools to help you. You can use those to help you a lot. And I strongly suggest that you get into one, use it, and Microsoft Word will do it. And even the lesser version of Microsoft Word, there's another one that's out there that's not the full-blown one that will actually go in and do it. So for grammar, also under grammar, this one gives you a whole bunch of different ones, but I've also given you a resource. This is Prince George's County Community College, and this is at their library. Here's your grammar, styles, and evaluating internet resources page. Oh, come on. Okay, oh, I just wasn't scrolling down. This one, it's called the Blue Book of Grammar and Punctuation. So, and I've run across this in several places, the Blue Book of Grammar and Punctuation. It's got free grammar rules, it's got rules associated with paragraphs, and it's got rules associated with hyphenization, and it's got rules associated with numbers. Typically, if the number is less than 10, write it out, unless it's a measurement. If the number is greater than 10, you can actually use the digits, but don't mix numbers in the same sentence. Don't mix your usage in the same sentence. So there's lots of those pieces that are there, because I'll tell you, your memos, your resumes, your written work usually are one of the first things that give somebody representation of you. All right? So, because you're usually writing an email to request for an interview, you're usually writing an email to thank them for having an interview or to meet with you or to request something. And if you're not using proper capitalization, you're not using proper punctuation, that may write you off right away. Now, I will tell you, a lot of us are allowing for what we call autocorrect issues, because we also know that if you're texting or you're writing off of something, that autocorrect, no matter, even if you've gone in and corrected it 5 times and said, no, that's not what I meant, that autocorrect will still say, I'm going to correct it to this other word. So there's sometimes that we're looking at it going, okay, that was probably just an autocorrect problem, and we're not necessarily going to dock you for that kind of an issue. But your written work is a reflection of you. Your written work says, did you take the time to do correction, to do actually a proof on it? Did you take the time to do some corrections on it? And it is a function of your professionalism. So if you are a engineering or a student engineer, you need to be writing. So there's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. The other piece is we talk about first person versus third person. Now, the first two memos were entirely supposed to be first person. It was about you. It was about your thoughts, your thinking. Going forward, some of the memos are going to be what we talk about professional, and that means third person. So you don't use I, you don't use we, you don't use you, you say the company did such and such. You're using what's known as third person rather than first person. Lab reports should be in third person, where you're not saying, I did this, during the experiment, this was done. So it's a different way of phrasing and writing. Creative writing is usually in first person. Technical writing is always usually in third person, unless you get to the recommendations. We recommend that you do da-da-da-da-da. Those are recommendations. Those aren't facts. So those are things that you would use first person in. So that's one of the things that you start looking at in lab reports, memos, technical memos. So far we haven't done a technical memo. It's been more introflexion, reflection type stuff. So I haven't worried about first person versus third person. But that's some of the things that are out there. So I've put these under class resources. Put those under class resources. So now I'm going to ask the next poll question, so get out your cell phone. I kind of want to know this. I kind of want to know that. Escape. This is making me happy. That one doesn't make me so happy. It's a 1-hour class. So technically, you should be spending 1 to 3 hours outside of class time doing work. So that's why I said that's making me happy. My gut feelings when I've heard that, dang, you guys have gotten lost in TED world. Or you guys have gotten lost in surfing world. And that's okay. I've also heard that some of this stuff is hard. Well, when we start thinking and reflecting on our own personal goals, we start thinking about how we use our time, we start thinking about how I want to use my time, that's not easy stuff. Okay, that's not, that personal introflexion is not easy stuff. And I'll give you an example. There's a program called Extraordinary Leaders, and it's done by it's done by Ziegler Folkman. If you ever want to read a really good book, Extraordinary Leaders is an excellent book. It talks about leadership traits, leadership qualities, a variety of things. Extraordinary Leaders, you can go to a workshop. The workshop lasts 8 hours, and it gives you quite a bit of information, allows for, kind of a review. It kind of helps you look at your personal leadership style, how you manage your time, a variety of different things. It does it in 8 hours. Well, that's good. There's another program. It's run by the Gallup Corporation. Those are the people that do the surveys and things like that. They also have a leadership course. Does very similar things to Extraordinary Leaders. Does a little bit more research on the leadership traits, has a little bit more in-depth stuff, but their program takes a week to do. And if you've gone through Extraordinary Leaders, which I've done 3 times now, you've gone through Extraordinary Leaders and you walk into the Gallup workshop, you're going, we're going to be here for a whole week, and we're taking a week off of work, which means I've got 2 weeks to do to catch up. I've got all this other stuff I've got to run and deal with, and I'm going to be here for a week, and we did it in 8 hours in Extraordinary Leaders. Well, the way Gallup does it gives you more time for introspecting and reflection, and by the end of the week, we were saying we didn't have enough time. It was really hard. We were exhausted. We didn't have enough time. And we're talking people from Stryker Medical, all these different folks that are coming in, and we're saying we didn't have enough time. 8 hours, even though we sat there and thought, okay, this is really valuable, we've done this in 8 hours. But when you really start digging into deeper stuff and start thinking about it and start pondering and start allowing yourself to really explore, a week isn't enough time to do the stuff that we were trying to do in 8 hours. So it is hard when you guys are introspective and starting to think. But if you start that practice now, it's not something that you have to learn mid-career. And mid-career is a hard time to learn it, because then you're balancing not only with your schoolwork and all these other things, you're balancing a variety of different pieces. And so when we talk about work-life balance, which is a misnomer anyway, there is no such thing as work-life balance. There are times when we're going to set our priorities that way, and it's making those priorities work. But this whole idea of, I'm going to go to work for 8 hours, I'm going to have 8 hours of rest time, and I'm going to have 8 hours of sleep, doesn't happen. There are days that you're going to work 16 hours, but then you're going to go off and you're going to do a weekend where you're not thinking about work at all. It's just a matter of balancing and not letting one break into the other too much. And actually, I call it a 3-legged stool. We always talk about work and family stuff, but there's a third part, and that third part is that mental health part that you have to do for yourself. Whether that's spiritual, whether that's mindfulness, whether that's whatever, you got to have that piece too. And so it's not a seesaw, it's a 3-legged stool that you have to work with. So it's one of those pieces that are out there. So that's why a lot of you are thinking, man, this is hard. Well, it's not. It's hard because it's a different thing. You're exercising different parts of your brain, and that makes a big difference. And then this is what I really want to know. So far, what's the biggest takeaway? I also like this because it's anonymous.
What do you mean by taken away, like from this lecture?
No. So far in this class.
Oh, so far. in
Yeah,
this class.
we're 4 weeks into it. We're a quarter of the way into it. We've talked about a lot of different things. another minute. Cool. Okay, so one of the things that I told you I was going to do, I haven't quite gotten to. I will try to get the results of our polls posted. Next week we've got our design project, so we are using the textbook. Life is good. So you've got your postings. I also have, everybody is supposed to have started their wiki pages, and I noticed yesterday that I don't have all those wiki pages out. I still have a couple of you that I don't have a topic for. So if you don't have a topic, holler at me, and I have my list of topics if you forgot what topic you were assigned. Right? I have that list with me today. I actually brought it in.
How do you want us to contribute to other people's wikis?
You just add to a page just like you did that page. So if there's something that you find or run across that would be good for that particular job, then go add to it.
Like edit the wiki?
Yeah, just edit the wiki. That's what the whole idea behind a wiki page is that you can go in and edit. So, like for example, places that I expect you guys to be more easily to contribute is if you run across a job title and you say, okay, I found this job title when I'm out on Indeed or something and they're playing out there, that you could say, hey, I found this job title that said it needed this kind of engineering or it needed this kind of skill, then you can go contribute that to that other person's wiki page. That would be a common one. If you're going through and you've run across that a job posting says, I need a mechanical engineer with these skills, adding those skills to somebody else's wiki page would be another place to do it. Or, hey, I know CME is trying to hire this kind of technician. This company in this area is trying to hire that person. It would be another one. And for those that are interested, Phillips 66 Borger is that's Borger, Texas, north of Amarillo, about 40 miles, is supposed to be on campus sometime. Right now it looks like it'll either be Thursday the 7th or Tuesday the 12th. She didn't get back to me, so I'm guessing it's going to be more like Tuesday the 12th. But Borger actually has some postings up for a variety of positions. And then, of course, Ponca's got its postings up for a variety of positions. So Borger's supposed to be on campus. And I just made contact with Aerotech, and I know Aerotech actually does interns and contract positions. So, and I actually talked to them about co-op type jobs. And I've got their contact information as well. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. If you got questions, holler. If you turned in paper copies over here in Tonkawa and you want your paper copy back, it's over there. I think I've sent some emails to a couple folks that said either I couldn't find an electronic copy, thought I'd seen it, or I couldn't open an electronic copy. Good to see you guys over in